Episode 64 of the 2020 Digimon Adventure Reboot was so stacked with lore, action, and just incredible amounts of callbacks to not just this series, but the 20 years of Digimon media. It's an episode that, to me, is signaling a very strong finale for a series that has had its ups and downs. Let's just get right into the review. Welcome to the Digino, where we review Digimon Adventure every week, and when this show wraps, we'll most definitely continue the Digimon discussions with a video at least once a week. So if you want news on upcoming Digimon games, or the next anime like Digimon Ghost Game, or upcoming movie projects, definitely subscribe if you haven't already. The episode kicks off with a bang by going straight into one of the more intriguing scenes from the preview we got at the end of last week's episode, and that is TK and Patamon in this sort of prophetic dream world where Devimon, our big villain from the first arc, issues a warning that something terrible is coming. But what's great about this scene is he's not saying it like, ha ha ha, I won in the end. He's kind of genuinely warning us, referring to Patamon as his old friend again, and just sharing the knowledge he has. This is the type of thing I imagined happening when, in the Holy Angemon debut episode, I said that I hoped Devimon being part of Holy Angemon's black arm would mean that they somehow stay in the show and stay in touch with Angemon and TK, like Devimon becomes a voice in Angemon's head, similar to Nail and Kami in Piccolo's head during Dragon Ball Z Abridged. So this whole scene was just fantastic to me. A really smart way to bring Devimon back and not have him be a mustache twirling enemy still. Like, he's honestly had some character growth too. But we do snap out of this dream. TK and Patamon both comment that they shared it, but before they can really discuss what that means, we reunite with Kari and then begin reuniting with the whole gang at the Tree of Knowledge. Everyone is returning from their crest quests since, quote, each one of us has gained something from where the Digivice led us. Now the path to overcome the Great Catastrophe should open up. We get some long overdue explanations for what Devimon's goal was, because he wasn't necessarily an agent of Algemon and Nagamon, or at least it wasn't that simple. Devimon was studying evolution, is what Tailmon says. The evolution to reach a great power defying the laws of nature. But in the end, out of control, it led to destruction, and the system born from that process was used by Vedamon to revive MillenniumMon. I love that this episode is sort of recapping the series but also answering some questions. I think this might technically be a little critique, because it would have been nice if we already knew this and it was just purely a recap instead of also a lore dump or reveal. But being starved for lore and story for as long as we have been, I'm not going to be complaining here. I'm just glad to be getting any of this story stuff at all. Tailmon recalls that the Ancient War started with the arrival of one specific Digimon, and just as she says this, a huge swarm of Soundbirdmon begin attacking the Tree of Knowledge. So we double time back to the tree with TK and Kari being the first ones there on the back of Pegasus. While the Soundbirdmon are going off, even corrupting some of the machine Digimon, TK recalls a line that Devimon said in their vision, the sound that once drove the world mad. Is this what Devimon was talking about? We then get attacked by this wireframe Ghoulmon from Digimon World, the digital card arena game for PlayStation 1, which is like a deep cut. And I think if I can pause for a second, characters like the wireframe Ghoulmon is one of the things that makes this reboot special. The fact that they so often do pull these really cool references from past series, past video games, and also still managing to give us new Digimon, I think we definitely should give them some credit for that. After a narrow escape, TK, Kari, and Taichi are taken into the inner sanctum where we see the crest monoliths are now glowing. But before we can react to them, the Soundbirdmon outside start clumping together and form Deathmon. The music that starts playing alongside his arrival is so apocalyptic and cool, so hats off to the music department here. He is, quote, the one who leads the Dark Digimon, the King of Darkness, Deathmon. The records say that the war between light and darkness began with Deathmon's attacks. Deathmon shoots this horrifying beam right through the tree, and we cut to Leomon for a second. This horrified me, considering we're in the final arc and Leomon is still alive. I thought he was about to be demolished by that beam, but thankfully we're still sparing Leomon, so good job, you're safe this week. When we do cut back to the kids inside the tree, we find that Taichi and Agumon were protected by the Holy Digimon and their human partners, and once again Wargreymon adopts that Holy Wargreymon form that we haven't seen since the battle with Machinedramon/Mugendramon. This was a huge surprise for me. I was not expecting to ever see that form again, and so that definitely had me fired up. We have this monologue from Wisemon who attempts to answer the mystery of the crests for us, all while there is recap footage of the adventure series so far on screen. I'll just quote the English subtitles verbatim here. I see in this digital world the children's reliability and sincerity have allowed them to form a friendship with Digimon. The chosen ones saved us with knowledge and nurtured us with courage and love, and they have kindled hope. The answer to the crest's mystery is, in other words, their entire adventure. Let me know in the comments what you think about that being the answer to the mystery of the crests. To me, if I'm being honest, it's a bit of a non-answer, but it was technically the most obvious answer, and at this moment in time, I can't personally think of anything better. And typically, as a rule, I don't like to criticize if I can't propose an alternate solution or option, so it didn't really bother me. It works as a nice conclusion to a show about good monsters and kids fighting evil monsters together. But now it's the moment we've all been waiting for, because Angemon and Holy Angemon begin their mega transformations, telling Deathmon where there is light, there is shadow. Should light and darkness exist, they must do so in order and harmony. These mega evolutions were super rewarding in my opinion. Seeing the priest mode of Holy Angemon was really shocking and incredible and so smart. Back to that thing I said about the wireframe Ghoulmon, I was not expecting to see that Digimon in animation form. So this was honestly the definition of, they didn't have to go this hard, but they did. And I know this is a sweeping statement, but I feel like we can't really say that the people making this series don't get Digimon or don't care about it when they're going out of their way to animate Holy Angemon Priest Mode into the Seraphimon evolution. Like, that is a level of respect for the series that we have to acknowledge. Angemon donning the armor was also so good, similar to Crest Garurumon's sequence where he's actually putting on the armor on top of where Garurumon. But something about this I liked a little more personally. These two megas have been entrusted with the hope of many Digimon. This evolution is really everyone's evolution as they describe it, and they do dominate Deathmon. Shout out to the use of 7 Heavens by Seraphimon to take down Deathmon. That was really cool. These holy Digimon do their job, but as Deathmon is falling apart, it says, "I am the first cry sent by the catastrophe. When I finish my cry, it will begin. Basically confirming that this battle was not the end, but rather the beginning of the end. Mimi and Joe even say to each other, "So what happens now? It can't be the end, right?" The crests start glowing again. After this scene where we kind of fly through the galaxy, they abruptly fade away and we find a completely blank crack in the sky, revealing this white dimension. And we're reminded of what Devimon said at the top of the episode: all will vanish, hope, even despair, all will fade at the white void. Now, before we hop into my final thoughts on this episode and the preview for next week, just a quick break for me to ask a little favor of you all. If you have a chance, please do me the favor and head over to my second channel, the Digino02. This was a channel I had to create back in May when this current main channel was temporarily taken down by a storm of these false copyright strikes. It was a total headache. Thankfully, I didn't have to move my whole operation there, but the thing is, with this copyright strike stuff, it's not like if you win once, you're free. This could happen again out of the blue at any time. So I really want to be prepared for the worst case scenario, and to be real with you, being prepared means being eligible for monetization on that second channel, like I am here. You need 1,000 subscribers, which I have thanks to you guys, and you also need 4,000 hours of watch time, which I don't have yet. That took about 8 months of consistent weekly uploads on this main channel back in 2020, and the truth is I really can't do that again, working completely for free. So my solution, my ask of you is that if you can, check out the 3 videos that are currently on the Digino02 channel. 2 are about Digimon 2020, and 1 is about other anime from 2021 that I watched and that I would recommend to you. I'll link to those in the description, but yeah, I know it's weird talking about behind the scenes stuff and monetization and all that, but I really want to get that second channel in a comfortable spot just in case anything goes wrong. I'm kind of one of those guys who is always planning for the worst case scenario. Okay, but thank you for listening to that. Let's finish out the review. If it wasn't already clear, I thought this was a really great episode and a very strong indicator that the final few episodes are going to work, at least for me. The breakneck speed of this episode was a lot, but it didn't feel overwhelming or annoying. Obviously, I wish we had more story spread out through the series, but watching this episode, I kind of had this realization that this 2020 series is a lot like a video game that has a big story intro and then drops you in an open world and asks you to do a lot of fun gameplay action, but the story doesn't really pick back up until you get to the final section of the game, like the final boss. I'm not going to say this series is the Breath of the Wild of anime. It's definitely not, but I think of that formula. Like, that's what it reminds me of, where you spend the majority of that game just doing little inconsequential but memorable side adventures with these little lore drops every time you finish a main dungeon, and then the story really ramps back up when you go to Ganon's castle at the end. In the preview for next week, the only explainer we get is, quote, "The true form of the Great Catastrophe is revealed through Algemon's words." They are giving us extremely little which I do like. I kind of like that confidence, to be honest. Like, they know we're in for a treat and they don't want to spoil anything. At least that's the impression that I get. I'm really curious what happened to the crests at the end of this episode. Like, are we going to be unable to digivolve, at least for a portion of the episode? Will this final boss have a real motivation beyond this Digimon wants to eat both the light and the darkness, or no? There was also some talk this week on Twitter based on a content calendar released for Fuji TV that would seem to indicate the show is actually going to have 3 more episodes, not 2, so 67 episodes total. I imagine some viewers were waiting for me to comment on this, so I'll comment on this. I would say this is promising news, but I would caution you not to take it as 100% confirmation that there'll be 3 full story episodes, because we don't have the listings yet. Like, we don't know what the episode titles and descriptions are. It could be that the show really does end in 2 weeks at episode 66, but then they might be doing some kind of like out of universe special celebrating the completion of the show, maybe interviewing the actors or the staff. They sometimes do that with anime. I've seen it for shows I watch like Dr. Stone or Jujutsu Kaisen. Granted, it's not usually at the very end, but they might do these like little behind the scenes episodes, and they would just call it an episode of Digimon Adventure, or put it at least in that time slot. Hopefully we find out soon, as it'll help us get some closure, and then we can find out when the next anime series, Digimon Ghost game, is starting up. Like, maybe it'll get a trailer. Anyways, that'll do it. I think this was a longer than usual video because there was so much to talk about. I honestly have no idea how I'm going to choose a thumbnail image. At the time of this recording, I haven't done so yet because there are so many good visuals in this episode, so hopefully I end up picking the best one. Good luck, future me. But of course, you know how this works. Comment below your thoughts on the episode, the transformations, the reveals. Congratulate Leomon for his survival, and let me know how you think the show is going to be ending. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.